To the extraordinary meeting of council this morning. We have apologies for at least lateness for John Alistair, certainly away for the full day. Somebody like to move the apologies be accepted. Moved by Phil and seconded by Jeremy. All in favour say aye. Any declarations of interest this morning? I'm sure we'll declare pecuniary interest probably, but no. That's a miracle, I can see. Yes. Are there any questions this morning? We haven't been made aware of any. So we move to item 5.1, which is the request to delegate the power to the Chief Executive of the Authority to appoint a pecuniary interest register.
Kia ora everyone. So just further to the workshop that we held with you recently about the change to the Local Government Act and the requirement for elected members to declare pecuniary interests on an annual basis. It is part of that process and that legislation that we, council, are required to appoint a registrar to collate those pecuniary interests, make sure that they're on the register and publish a summary on our website. So the purpose of this report and today's meeting is to delegate that power to Chief
Executive to appoint a registrar in order to be able to fulfil that
function. Any questions?
Seems perfectly reasonable. We need to put our interests in tomorrow.
Yes, you are. Yep, that's a separate but related matter. Yes, so you have a deadline for tomorrow to do that. And as we've just advised before, you should have got an electronic copy of the form to do that. We can make hard copies available today and we'll make sure that we recirculate.
Also, slightly to the side, we had a discussion with our lawyer a while ago, not so long ago, regarding farming in particular and their obligations. How is that moving along and how does that relate to this one that we're doing now?
So same but different. So you may have, so that's under the local authority, the LAMIA Act, Members Interest Act, which sort of covers in a nutshell the need to disclose interests in which you're making decisions. So those aren't just related to pecuniary interests. Those are related, those could be memberships, for example, that you might hold. So yeah, same but different. And there's not the same, whilst there is requirements for sort of declaration, it's not the same requirement for record keeping in this way.
No, but I understood that as topics arose and individuals saw that they were conflicted, that they had to apply to the Auditor General.
Yeah,
is that process, like, have we sorted that out?
I think the key part of that, from what I recall from that workshop, was our need to get a timeline of decisions in front of you for that, and for you to be also looking at your agendas and thinking about the decisions that are going to be made and determining whether you should be declaring any interests.
But will there be, because I mean, it could disappear, it seems to me, but is there going to be anybody who says to us, we've got this decision coming up, there will probably be some of you who need to, because are letters going to have to be sent repeatedly?
Potentially, I don't know. I think the key thing about both of these pieces of legislation is that the onus is on your fine selves to be doing the declaration. Now, you know, we can support that, like I said, by being clear that decisions are upcoming. We can prompt you to consider that, and we can think about a process for all our meetings, actually, because, you know, most of the meetings that you do have, you'll hear as our decision-making body, but fundamentally it's a decision for yourselves as to whether to declare or not, or determine whether you've got an interest that may present a conflict that you need to.
I still don't understand, because if a letter has to be sent, who's going to do that? And how often do you have to do that?
I can't answer that for you right now.
I think in
I'll
most
find out.
situations, the personal responsibility works, but there are cases where a council is perhaps going for a plan change. If we're going to lose half the councillors, obviously that wasn't going to work very well, where they've actually applied for an exemption from the Director General or whoever makes that decision. So, and the normal thing is the onus is on the person, but if you got to a situation where and a major plan change, if that issue came up, and that has happened, I think, with the Targo, where an exemption was given because it made no sense for democracy to take out half the council. So,
I don't think that's right, Nicol. I understand what you mean. That's on behalf of the council, that to cover ourselves to be able to have a quorum and so on. But Phil was very clear that in the instance where people have a conflict, it's really serious to the individual person, and they can't just say, I've got a conflict and sit it out or not take part, because if they decide that they don't have a conflict and they're wrong, Phil talked about a 7-year prison sentence as being, I think we're taking this matter far too lightly.
Yeah, but it still, as I understand, comes down to the heart that it is the individual's responsibility to declare that. And it's not the group's responsibility to say, you need to go outside. So that's the heart of it. Is that correct?
Yep, it's an individual
That can lead to
responsibility.
what you say, Robert, and what Phil said, that prison sentence, if you don't, that could be the consequence.
That's the consequence.
if it happens, Robert will make a case of fine.
We can follow up. I will follow up outside of this and get some, we'll talk about how we operationalise that with you.
That's what I'm
Yep.
asking.
And remember, Alistair wants a by-election.
But something in writing would be useful.
I thought the main thing was that, there might be a few of us that need to get an exemption based on the information we've heard from, like, around ORC. And I thought the way we were going to do it, the council of staff management were going to help us through that.
Yep.
Make sure we get to where we need to go.
Yep.
And to do it sooner than later, so that these discussions don't keep on popping up and get stirred up. Would be good.
I'll find it out.
Lyndall.
Yes. I'm happy to move the recommendation, Chairman. I just wanted to check number 2, the second recommendation, and ask whether we need to know who the chief executive, what role the chief executive is likely to appoint as the registrar. So rather than the person, but what role will that usually be?
Yeah, sure. It's likely to be the Democracy Services principal. And the reason that we're suggesting that the chief executive take the delegation to the SO appoint is actually to simplify the administrative process around delegations per se.
Fine, thanks. I'm happy to move those, Chairman.
Moved by Lyndall, seconded by Jeremy. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just want to say, we quote the ORC case quite a bit. There was a lot of doubling down when it come to that. There was junctures well before that they could have sidestepped and, but they just carried on ignorant to the fact. So it was a Michael Wood type situation that they had opportunity, they had off ramps and they never chose to take them. So
Morris.
Thank you. Yes, this potential to get an exemption seems a bit strange to me, because if you've clearly got a conflict, getting an exemption just seems to be like a legal loophole type of thing. You're still going to have, you're still going to take your opinions into the decision-making process, and you're still going to have an influence, which could be anti-democratic, shall we say.
No, I don't think it's, where there's a clear conflict, that's different. I think this is, you're a farmer, therefore some of these, and the old story was if yours was no more than anybody else, that was fine. And this stuff is sort of testing that a wee bit. In that sort of situation, if you went down the track and you said, well, Robert's the Green Party, he's out, and you ended up with commissioners. Because if you cancel everybody out, that doesn't make sense. So obviously there's the safeguards have got to be in there, but if we're talking about what everyone's got to have a farm plan, or you've got an interest in that because you'll have to get one.
Yeah.
That's getting fairly vague. If it's something where you had a personal interest and you were going to make money out of it, yeah, that's certainly a conflict. Eric,
Well, I was going to say, there's got to be a bit of common sense here. Like if we're talking about stormwater or wastewater for Invercargill, do I declare an interest because I'm a ratepayer in the city and whatever, I don't have any interest that's going to be greater than anybody else living there. So I just think there's a common sense element. But if I'm farming and I want a water consent or a consent to do something else that's pertinent to what I'm doing and other people won't get it, I think that's kind of the interpretation I would put on it.
Yeah, certainly, Delaney says if you're holding an interest in common with the public, then
exactly.
actually that's fine. I think the important thing to remember about this is the context in which the decision making is happening. So the Lamia legislation, that goes back to 1968, and the world looked a little bit different then, and some of you fine folk may not have been even here, but the world's changed. We are now working in quite a really interesting political and societal environment where there's polarisation, information's far more available, and there's a demand out there in the public for transparency and the view that things should be taken, or decisions should be made impartially. And so we've got to remember that in this role where you're here representing your communities but making your decision on behalf of Southland for the benefit of Southland, that you're meeting those expectations, and some of that is what the law is there designed to support and help you and protect you, but also, ensure that democracy is done in that context.
But Morris's point is quite correct. And Phil made it clear, and we gave him lots of examples. I said, are farmers conflicted here? Yes. Are they here? Yes. Are they here? So he made it clear that, yes, that the farming community is not, can't be viewed as in the same way that a general ratepayer can be, whatever that particular phrase was. But no, it's not. Morris is saying, so Phil was saying, yes, you guys are conflicted on so many of these different things. You're lucky to have gotten away with it so far, basically, is what he said. He said, but there is a workaround.
Say that.
That's a miscap.
No, I don't
Characterisation of what he said.
Let's ask for
No, hang on, I haven't quite
something
finished.
from Phil, because
Yeah, clarity. But Morris's point is that farmers, in some instances, more than you would imagine, are conflicted. However, there's a workaround, and that you can apply for an exemption. But Morris's point is they're still conflicted. They're just now protected from the law, but they're still conflicted, and it's a very good point. It's absolutely true.
This conversation is important, but it's not related necessarily to the recommendations that are on the table.
we will get some more information from Phil, but this has been moved and seconded. So I'll put the motion on the table. Say aye.
Aye.
So it did take more than 5 minutes.
It did, sorry. 30 minutes.
Me.
It's almost over.
Close the meeting.
Yes, we can close the meeting at this stage and go on.
Bloody secrets.
I'm sorry, just didn't have a chance yet. Could we get a bit more clarity where that line is between